Hi everyone, it's Alex, and these are the books I read in March. I managed to read 2 books in March, and one of those books I've already talked about really extensively in my last video, and it is The Idiot by Elif Botman. So I won't really go into this because I'd be really repeating myself, but basically with this book, I really loved it. I think it's definitely for people out there that really kind of are in that boat where identity is sort of constructed, whether in digital spaces or through digital platforms like email, or as well as how we can kind of navigate being ourself, but being ourself around different people. In this book's case, it's about a girl named Celine starting school at Harvard, as well as the following summer during a program where she's in Hungary. But between Celine and her interactions with her classmates, I found it really enjoyable, and the writing style is really easy to kind of get into, and it doesn't really feel like challenging or overly intellectual despite kind of the content. And with that content in particular, I'm mainly referencing like the things a lot about Russian literature in here, which I thought would go over my head. The other book I read for March is Days Without End by Sebastian Barry. This was a book that was, I believe it was shortlisted, it says here, for the Man Booker for last year. And I really didn't know what this was about, other than you can probably tell something to do with some time, a long time ago. But this is a story about a man named Thomas who finds himself in the war, and I was really surprised by this in terms of content, mainly because surprisingly gender is like a big discussion here in this book. For me, I took it as these glimpses of how we determine maybe masculinity, where things like war kind of already establish sort of degrees of masculinity, and how masculinity kind of makes people navigate certain relationships between other people. And of course, a big part of this book that a lot of people seem to talk about is the writing style itself. Thomas is not a very educated man since being kind of dumped in the war. I think it says he only has about maybe a 4th grade education, and that definitely reflects in the writing style since Thomas is our narrator here. The writing, there's a lot of sentence fragments or a lot of things that basically do remind you that Thomas isn't someone that can really show himself with words, but he can talk about things really objectively that kind of do that show versus telling mentality that you may have been taught in school to kind of do when it comes to storytelling. So despite Thomas's shortcomings with how he kind of describes things, I think he actually describes things so simply and objectively that it's actually quite beautiful with his observations, whether in war or between the people he's around. What kind of drew me to this book is seeing that Ishiguro kind of left a comment about liking it on the back of this book, and I really like Ishiguro's writing. It's very patient and kind of subtle, and I think this book is kind of along the same lines if you're also an Ishiguro fan. So those are the books I read in March. I'm really behind on my reading more than I'd like to be, and especially behind on watching your guys' videos, those that I'm subscribed to, but sort of just keeping up with that. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.